have up next is Norman Harry, who is the former tribal chair of the Pyramid Lake Paiute, with a question for you.
Senator Booker, welcome to Nevada.
Thank you. May I call you Norman?
Yes.
Thank you, Norman.
You want to take a minute?
No, that's okay. I'm getting hot up here.
That was
I'm
very
getting hot. I didn't see
refreshing.
any water there. Oh, here it is. Thank you.
But I wanted to welcome you to the Aboriginal homelands of the Paiute, Shoshone, and Washoe people, our indigenous tribes in Nevada. As a past tribal chairman for the past 30 years and being involved with tribal government and working for tribes, I've been involved with a lot of the most contentious land issues, water rights issues, looking at protections of cultural resource. And as you're well aware, here in Nevada, 85% is federal lands. A lot of the problems that we run into are trying to deal with the regulations that govern these lands, and when we're looking at industries that come on into Nevada but have practices that essentially degrade to some extent the waters in the state of Nevada. Water is our topic today that I wanted to emphasize to you. We've had 100 years of legal negotiations taking place in the courts. In 1986, we were finally successful in getting the negotiations started. In 1990, we had Public Law 101-618 that was signed by the president, which was a water settlement. It took just until November of last year, we had to develop a Truckee River operating agreement for the management of the federal reservoirs that start in California. But the benefit overall was to be able to provide a drought storage for the Reno Sparks area, as well as fish credit water for our endangered species at the tail end of the system. So I'm proud to have been involved with that. It was a huge undertaking. We have a lot of industry in Nevada that has a definite impact on our water resources. And a lot of it, we believe, is attributable to some of the antiquated laws, for example, the 1872 Mining Act.
And could you just name those industries for me? Not that I don't kind of know, but you said
Pardon
there are
me?
industries that are contributing to the problems we're having with water. Some of those industries are?
Oh, some of the issues would be looking at, say, the 1872 mining law. You have foreign corporations coming into the state of Nevada. They're going to the permitting process. Usually the voices aren't heard. We take a look at eastern Nevada and what's happened with the Shoshone people, the water grabs, basically going to Congress and getting these federal right-of-ways, circumventing the entire state process, same here in northern Nevada. So there are things that are taking place right now that have a serious impact. So when we're talking about cultural resource protection, we look at the mines in northeastern Nevada, and when they're doing a dewatering, you have basically a hydrostatic level of groundwater, but once they start pumping, that groundwater starts dropping. So you've got a cone of depression, and so all these streams and water resources are trying to fill that hole. The water that's being extracted from the ground is definitely going back into the river systems, which is very high in TDS, and essentially by degrading the water quality standards that have been set forth. But the permits have been issued by the agencies that have been designed to protect the water quality standards. So my question to you, on behalf of Secretary Clinton, does she have a plan that for a water management plan, not only for Nevada and looking at the public lands here, but also for the western United States?
I really appreciate the question. Thank you very much, Norman. Thank you, sir. So, Norman, a few things right away. And so first of all, Secretary Clinton agrees with you first. The federal permissiveness, where they are allowing these large private interests with their lobbyists and others to come down to Washington and literally rewrite laws or circumvent them or undermine them. She believes that has to stop. And we have to stop allowing the virtual privatization of our resources and the despoliation of our treasure, which is our public lands. She believes that we should affirm the compacts and the treaties that have been made and defend them in every single way at the federal level. And you and I both know that the Supreme Court has a problem with this as well. And they have, in my opinion, held sway over some unfortunate realities when these disputes come up. Because again, I believe we're not prioritizing our native peoples and their indigenous rights to the land. And what folks don't understand, and I understand this, and I don't want to ever see this happen out west, but I live along a mighty river that George Washington during the Revolutionary War sat with Alexander Hamilton and talked about how amazing the Passaic River was. Well, now the Passaic River is so full of dioxins and contaminants that it literally is a Superfund site because corporations came there and they basically robbed from the future, brought into the present and called it profits. Well, we cannot allow that to happen in the United States of America. We must democratize our public lands and defend them from people who want to steal from us and these natural resources. Number two, I want to say this very clear. Water is going to be a global crisis issue. And we are not in America doing what we have done in generations before, is being ahead of the problem. And so one of the things that Hillary Clinton talks to our team about is the need for us to start to invest in the kind of things that prepare for the coming crisis. We've had 16 years in the Colorado River Basin, 16 straight years of drought in the Colorado River Basin. That should be setting up alarms all over the United States of America, because you know how valuable and important that is, not just to this region, but to our national economy. So she wants to make sure that we are doing what we need to do to make massive investments in water resiliency, massive investments in conservation, and what she, again, an expert on government who knows it left and right, has started talking about innovative ways to use things like the Farm Bill to get among many of these large agribusinesses to incentivize them to begin to do the right kind of water conservation practices. And finally, the two things that are on her agenda, again, a person that understands government, how it works, the two things she said is, one, we need to be a nation that starts investing in research and development. She was over in Israel, which is a nation that is just desert, and watching the kind of innovative things that they're doing when it comes to investing in the technology of the future to make water more abundant. Everything from agricultural practices to desalinization. We need to make sure that we are the innovation capital of the world, not just in Silicon Valley, but when it comes to water resources as well. And that will also create jobs. She brags about those investments of government dollars, again, will produce incredible returns to the economy as a whole in creating jobs for the future, as well as saving us pain, the coming pain from doing nothing. Thank you.
Thank you.